It was a problem.
It's 5:33.
We're here.
The agenda is the same as it is online.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've read.
Oh.
Maybe we can print it copies for meetings over and every just to let people know.
Have to be
Just
just, yeah.
Probably halfway through. So it's
recording in progress.
Okay, I'm on unmute. I just need a confirmation that someone can hear me. You got it? Oh, no. I didn't get a confirmation. I got a thumbs up from Sharon. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the Shutesbury Selectboard to order. We have a Zoom and a hybrid tonight. So our agenda is public comment first at 5:35. 5:40, we're going to review the minutes of our March 26th. Then the select board review of the Concom regulation fees, followed by the broadband request for feasible right of use agreement for long-term lease interconnect point with Crown Castle substation. Review third draft of the town meeting warrant and the first review of our budget. Review appointment of the cemetery groundskeeper. Review state earmark documents. Review clean water trust. Contract review of the Great Elementary School exterior trim and siding repairs. Response to open meeting law complaints. And then town ministry updates on PFAS gasoline clean up, and then we'll go into an executive session. Is there anything that has jumped out on the last little bit since this was posted, Becky, or?
I believe we have everything. We're moving ahead our schedule.
Okay, perfect. All right. Do you have anything, Rita or Eric? No? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone here that has public comment? And we'll ask you to raise your hand. I see Sharon. Go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I am confused about why there's a review of the Concom regulation fees on the agenda, because it's my understanding that that's entirely in the jurisdiction of the Concom, and that also the Concom has to have a public hearing before it can vote on any changes in the regulations. So maybe, I don't know why it's on the agenda, but it just confused me.
This isn't anything to do with the regulations itself. It's the setting of the fees. And as it's written, what the select board is the one that approves the fees that are set forth by the Concom. They vote on it. They've come to us. We've reviewed them. They voted on a second set. So we're here to review that.
It's my understanding that it's not up to the select board to determine the fees, that it's in the regulations.
We approve the fees. We should just talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get to that point.
Okay.
All right. Moving, is there any other public comments? No. Okay. Let's move on to the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from March 26th, 2024? So moved. Okay. Do I hear a second?
second. Oh. I thought it was one place where Shutesbury was spelled on it, so I was trying to find it. I can't find it. Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. We know who we are.
Yes, sure. All in favor? I'm sorry, I was listening and waiting.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Make peace of me alive. You make me co-host. Or the select board and co-host. Okay. All right. So now we'll move on to the review of the new Concom regulation fees. Becky, can you now bring that up after?
Can everyone see them?
We can. All right. And this is the second set of, these were voted on, I believe, at their last meeting, correct? I don't have the date in my head. After they had come to the select board and we had discussed their fees the first time, asking them to lower these because there was reimbursement from the EP. Yes, okay. So this is the second set of those. Do we want to run through them again, or how do we feel about these?
Well, they were approved by the Conservation Commission, right? And so the select board has the approval authority for fees. And Becky, is there a citation? Is it in the Mass General laws?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as
But the
per the Mass
select board
General
is
laws. Right.
for appointed boards, and our Concom is appointed, not elected. A number of people are getting very confused with a different set of rules for elected as opposed to appointed.
Okay, and these were approved by the Conservation Commission. So
yes, we have that citation. We have their minutes of approval if you want that up on screen, but you've already
we've already read.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I make a motion that we approve the new Concom regulation fees as submitted to us by the Shutesbury Conservation Commission.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Make you feel good. Aye. Perfect. Okay, moving right along, we'll go to the I argue indefeasible right of agreement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I review.
I thought he was, and I do not hear. So, yeah, he has.
You're running ahead, so.
Yeah, is there something you can pop in, Becky, for an update on either of the things you're going to update us?
That's an agenda item. One thing, one update is, I know Elaine Palaio had reached out to the Energy Committee regarding the EV chargers, because it's an important piece for the library. I just wanted, the response from ECAC was that the original Livingstone proposal had been rescinded. That is not true. I'm not sure where that information came from. I haven't been able, I was trying to reach Gail Fleischecker to talk to her about it, but I didn't reach her. I checked with Livingstone. They have updated their proposal with no changes. So we still have that in hand if there is, and as the library is very much in need of this, I'd like to propose that we look more closely at it, and I speak with the Energy Committee to see. They have stated it's not a priority for them, but it is a priority for the town. So we need to get it moving again. So I'd like to check with them to analyze where they stopped and what their concerns were about it, and bring that forward to the select board and see if we have any other vendors that they have identified that we can get a proposal from or not.
My sense is I can just explain like what I think their biggest concern was. I believe the biggest concern was that most people that have electric cars that live in town will charge their cars at their house. They won't charge them at the library. I mean, in other words, the electric car charging stations are really more beneficial to people passing through town who are driving from Boston to Albany or something. For some reason, they see, oh, it's Shutesbury one. They can charge here. But for people who live in town, if you have an electric car, you probably charge it at home. So the idea was that of all the ways the town could potentially spend money on electric vehicles or solar, whatever, that was not the best way to do it. That was their feeling. I'm not sure that I wouldn't agree with it, but that was, I can explain that's why they came to that conclusion.
But the library wants to have.
They want to have, and I think what they're planning two, one has to be at a handicap spot and one at a regular spot. But there's typically one that is shared between two spots, so we're looking into the specifications of it to see if it can do what their need is. Because they were going to put the other charger up here at Town Hall, because each unit has services two vehicles.
So can we put this on, I don't know, at the next meeting, if that's going to be too tight, or the meeting after that, can we go through the Livingstone proposal?
Sure, that'd be fine. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I just didn't want it to just die, given there's a current need.
Right. And the library had this kind of in their building.
They do have it in their building.
Okay.
Because they were aware of the original proposal and they thought that was being followed through.
I see. Okay. All right. So let's do it. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I should reach out to Gail. What time is it?
It's 5:45.
If she's available.
Yeah. Would be good to have some. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Gail, it's Becky. We're running early, but there put them on the Zoom meeting and for the IRU. Great. Bye. He said, that's a new one. Select board running early. So, do you think we'll have a number of more finance committee in person? Should we?
I don't know. I didn't actually.
We can set up a table because this will come follow you wherever you want.
Okay. I mean, I see Jim anyway.
Yeah, I can answer I can probably answer some questions if you have any questions about the IRU before Gail gets online, if that's helpful.
I read the thing. I read the agreement, but maybe Jim, if you could just give us a little background about why we're being asked to, why Ms. Salem wanted to.
Yes. Well, the agreement allows us to connect Crown Castle, which supplies broadband backbone internet to us all in Shutesbury and also in Leverett. And now it will be able to do that to everyone in New Salem. But in order to get to it, well, here's Gail. She can tell you all about it.
Hi, Gail. Oh, she's still coming on. Can you hear us, Gail?
I can hear you. Yes. Hi.
I just want to make sure you're fully connected before we started talking. So Jim was kind of jumping in. Rita had asked if you could give us a rundown. We've read the proposal, but a rundown for those that are on Zoom or in the room here.
Absolutely. So this is an IRU. It stands for Indefeasible Right of Use, and it's a common agreement between broadband and internet companies to allow use of their lines. So we already have a very similar agreement with Leverett, and so we reach their hut on North Leverett Road for redundancy, and they go through ours for redundancy for them. And so this allows for more kind of robustness and resiliency if our lines go down. We have this really nice circle protection that goes all the way back to Springfield. Anyway, we had one of these agreements already with Leverett. This is a very similar agreement with New Salem. One of the neat things about Shutesbury is that on Pratt Corner Road, we touch those high tension lines that allow us on a separate connection to backhaul. Backhaul is how we reach the wider internet. So it's this really valuable kind of geographic location that we have. And so that's being used by, like I said, Leverett right now. And now New Salem wants to use it too. And the problem is if you only have one connection to that wider internet, if that goes down, your whole network is down. So by doing this ring protection, you just increase, again, the robustness and the resiliency of your network. So New Salem wants to use this coming up from Cooleyville Road up to our hut behind the town hall and then going down to Pratt Corner. So to do this, they would just be using 2 strands of fiber. We have plenty more. We're not going to run out. So they're just riding on our existing lines. This is not going to cost us more maintenance fees or extra money. It's all riding on lines we have to maintain anyway. They are giving us, as you can see in the contract, a nice payment for use. We did not get a payment from Leverett because it was a mutual agreement. We're using some of their lines and they're using some of ours. With New Salem, they don't have anything to offer us. We have no reason to use their line. So it's not a mutual agreement. And so this is why there's a financial benefit to Shutesbury. We did research about what are kind of market rates for this. And they are paying a bit lower than that, but it's a hard thing to put value on because, well, nobody else wants it. They may in the future. So we do have kind of an escalator in that contract to allow for more money to be charged after the first 10 years. But right now we don't have people like clamoring down our door to use our rural network. Anyway, New Salem is getting some grant money, and so they're giving us some of this as well as an annual maintenance fee for the right to use our lines. Any questions?
Yeah, I think there was some language in there that protected Shutesbury if our lines went down and then therefore something happened where New Salem wasn't able to access the internet. Now, if there was a problem in Shutesbury that resulted in a problem for New Salem, we don't get penalized.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great question. Yeah. There's language in there to protect Shutesbury. They can't hold us responsible or liable for anything any downtime to their network or something that happens to their network. It's also very low risk because if something is happening to their network, something's happening to our network. So there's no case in which we'd be like, well, we're just going to not fix that because if they're down, we're down. Yeah, but Donna, town legal counsel, did a full review of this and approved it, as well as our MLP board.
Thank you.
Eric, do you have any questions?
Where do they connect now? I mean, is this a redundant line for them, or is it a primary line?
This is going to be their well, it's up to them on how they want to use it. But right now, they're using the MBI/local links as their primary backhaul and their only backhaul. So connecting to Crown Castle would allow them this extra redundant connection to the wider internet.
Cool. Okay.
Are we ready to vote? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we approve the indefeasible right of use agreement for the long-term lease. The interconnect point for Crown Castle substation. We have to say to the town of New Salem.
Do we have to say to the town of New Salem?
I mean, it's the agreement with the town of New Salem.
Yes, correct.
With the town of New Salem.
Right.
I had to look up indefeasible. I didn't.
Yeah, it's a fun legal term.
It's a legal term. But I said, oh, it was a typo. It must be indefensible.
That's what
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Okay, so that's my motion to approve the.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Carol, I.
Scott,
Makepeace, O'Neill, aye. And you need this signed, right, Gail, by the three of us?
I do. If you would do me a favor and after all of you sign it, put the 2 copies in my mailbox. I still need the MLP board to sign it, and we're still waiting on a couple signatures there. And then I'll take care of it. I'll get the other copy to New Salem and keep the other copy for our records.
Okay. Gail, there's one up in the box you left for me that has New Salem signatures on it, right? Or did you not read it? Should they just sign a blank one, or do we have the one with their signatures, New Salem already signed?
There should be 2 copies of the contract in my mailbox. New Salem has signed both of them.
Okay, we'll get both of them and sign both of them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do
all
that
right.
tonight?
Yeah.
They're just upstairs. Okay.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Gail.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thanks all. Bye.
All right.
Good night.
Still ahead of schedule, we have the reverse review of the 3rd draft of annual town meeting.
We'll just
And budget.
And budget, yes.
Do you have any extra copies? I read everything. And do you have copies of the budget? I don't, but I can go make it. Could you make?
You can make one for me. I didn't.
But
Yeah.
in the budget? Okay.
Or I can.
I'll need the original back. My screen gets pretty bad.
Well, we can do everything but the budget, because we're gonna do
Yeah.
that with the FinCom, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the FinCom is also voting their approval as we go through.
Oh, okay.
We're having to condense and combine,
Okay.
yeah, they don't have to vote on everything. Okay, and the warrant article 2 is still subject to change
Number 2 is still subject to change.
because the region
Oh,
is
yeah.
not settled. So So at this point, we should probably pass over that one. What do you think?
Couple.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
will we be able to get the votes of the parties that are on the state?
Hold on, I gotta move it to the right place. Give me a moment. I have to share my screen, but I've got 2 screens here. We want to see that one. And where'd my Zoom go? Screen share, view screen 2, and hit share. Now I need confirmation from someone who can see that on the screen. Jim, can you see that on the screen? I know you now you can see yourself too, but can you see that on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Give me a moment, I will get more people on the screen. It takes a second to figure
I'm
that
just
out.
gonna look around and make sure it's not another. Okay. So Jim, Bob, and Jim are out there.
Are they? See George. George is not among them. Neither is.
Okay. So there's 4 members.
And that's okay for a clock, right? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna do something a little. They don't want to see themselves. But this is where having 3 screens would be perfect. Like that. All the participants on one. We need another. No, we need another TV.
Bigger than this.
I use three screens in my work life, and so when you only have 2, you're like, oh, this doesn't matter.
Missed the capital planning deadline.
I know, right? Donations anyway.
I just think that screen is so ridiculously large. Now it's like, just making this big screen. So you see that.
So I can't screen share with AJ because you don't have your computer.
Sure.
I can't
Thought of that on my drive here.
be able to pull anything up that you need or that we have.
We have.
Yeah.
So if we're saying we're gonna pass over Article 2?
Yeah.
All right, can you just explain what the status is? Is that okay to start that discussion?
If you want to get into it.
Yeah, just briefly.
Yeah, I mean, I can, so Article 2 being the regional.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say this hasn't been an ideal process this year. So there have been 2 4 towns meetings as per our usual kind of cycle. I think the second one was in February. And at that time, the superintendent presented a budget that increased the other 3 towns' assessments to a level that represented 4% increases over their FY24 budget. And that was implementing this guardrail concept, which has come up in the last couple of years. And that, for Shutesbury, that budget resulted in a 2.52% increase from our FY24 assessment. That amounted to about 39,000 and change. Okay. So that's where things stood after that meeting. There was kind of broad consensus that was workable, but that cuts were going to, like, it was going to require a pretty significant amount of cuts. 1.7. Right, exactly. Cut. So superintendent, I think, worked with the school administrators and whoever else to determine what kinds of cuts could be made. And it became clear that it was going to require, I want to say 14 like staff FTE reductions across the middle school and the high school. And I think it's fair to say that once it kind of sunk in what the implications of those cuts were, there was a significant amount of public concern about that. And the regional school committee, I think, developed some pretty significant concern about what that was going to mean for the quality of the educational experience for students. And so they basically, in kind of a couple of meetings, really late in the process, decided to reject that budget and asked the superintendent to produce a new budget that restored all of what they were referring to as the student facing cuts. So those, essentially those staff positions, which were teachers and parents. That budget we produced, and that resulted in an 8.2% increase for all 4 teachers. We can have a sort of long discussion about it, but the way in which our modified statutory method was implemented to get to that figure was different in, I think, a fundamental way to get to that budget in a way that I think it's fair to say doesn't sit right with the FinCom, and it's something that I think we're prepared to discuss with the other towns at a 4 towns meeting, which is scheduled for April 7th. So the timing on this is going to be really less than ideal. Now, I'll just tell you briefly, I feel like I've already talked more than I wanted to, but that the FinCom was not comfortable with 2 aspects of this budget that the region has passed. One is an 8.2% increase. I think felt many, if not all, members like a pretty untenable kind of size increase. That would have been that would have amounted to $120,000.
Instead of 39.
Instead of 30, yeah. And then we're also not happy about the way in which the assessment method has been kind of I don't know what the word is. It's been sort of jiggered in a way that I think it's not particularly fair to our town, I think. And
Here's to abandon the regional agreement.
But statutory, 100% statutory response.
Yes.
It came out, so it's like a new.
It's what the superintendent will say is that he used the same method as a starting point, but then ultimately imposed a 8.2% guardrail that brought all 4 towns, which basically meant that the magnitude of the change from the February to the April regional school budget is more significant for Shutesbury than it is for the other 3 towns.
Yeah.
So what the finance committee did at our last meeting is we sort of recognized that, okay, the cuts are going to be painful as they were planned as of the February budget. We recognize that the budget probably needs more of an increase than that budget allowed for. We think the 8.2% is not workable. We came up with a compromise which would result in a 6% increase for our town. And that's what's in the draft budget that Becky has shared. And part of the thinking here is that in terms of process, we feel strongly that the 8.2% proposed budget is going to need to be modified by the time towns vote on it and by the time Amherst Town Council votes on it. We don't think there's support for it, broad support for it across all towns. And so what that's going to mean is that we're probably, we think at this April 20th 4-town meeting, we're probably going to caucus and deliberate with other towns and come up with a compromise somewhere between that February budget and this March budget, what I would call it. And so we're
into Article 2.
right, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the 20th. We can't change the warrant, right? After the 20th. I mean, if Port Townsend meeting on the 20th, our town meeting is on the 27th.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's a couple of scenarios that Becky could speak to this.
Well, go ahead.
So one would be that if we have some consensus coming out of that four towns meeting that results in a budget increase for our town that's less than 6% or is 6%, I think we have some confidence that we could amend the article on the town floor.
The budget article.
The budget article. Right, but not this one. Because the regional school committee will not vote on new motions before our meeting. That would be.
Could I ask a question about that, please?
Yeah.
Well, we know we can amend the budget downwards. So on the budget amendment, we know we can change the total budget to something lower, to the extent that we lower it. Can we not change, if the only change in this method that's here now and what pockets on the 20th is the percentage, would we be able to change that?
We potentially can amend that on.
okay, so we're gonna
Well,
amend.
we'll talk to Paul about it because he has to, if we're amending, well, see, this is where, I apologize, this, because it was changing so much, this is last year's. The new one says 8%. It says 8.2% where it says 4% now. So if you were to lower the 8.2 to 6%, we believe that amendment would be accepted by the moderator. And then if all the towns did that, potentially the school might still have a budget. But we're not legally sure, are we?
I don't think so. And the other thing is, you know, the Amherst Town Council is not going to vote on their budget, the regional, until April 29th, after we've met. So there's always, I think, going to be some risk involved in that we may amend the budget and potentially Article 2 here at our town meeting. And I don't know, something happens between that point and what the town council votes on.
Because I believe the school committee, when they took that vote, that is the vote that has to be met for the budgets to be legal. By all three towns, at least three towns have to vote the budgeted number that the school committee set. So this all might be a waste of time. Because it might be that if everybody doesn't vote the 8.2, it's going to be thrown out anyway.
Can I provide some context for my vote on the committee? First of all, I think that it was outrageous the way the school committee handled this process and put everybody in a real fix, you know. Secondly, I think that I don't support the 8.2. I don't support actually. I mean, AJ made an argument that I went along with it, and the reason I went along with it was because I believe that Amherst will not accept it. Amherst is the big dog in this, as we all know. They're meeting and they're gonna determine how much they're willing to pay. And when they make that determination, that will determine ours, really, ultimately. And I think it's gonna be more like possibly 4 or something like that, if that, because this money doesn't grow on trees, we all know. And they have a lot of other demands on their finances other than this. And I don't think they're happy about the way this group handled either. So that's my guess. And I don't think, and my other consideration as a member of the finance committee is that this draft budget includes a factor called the excess levy capacity, which brings our tax increase over 2.5%, which I really work with the rest of the committee. We all work on reducing that number as much as we could. And this 6% will bring it back over. If it was back down to 5 or 4, I think even 5, George had brought up a scenario, it would be back down to 0. So again, as I'm only guessing, but I'm fairly confident it's a good bet that Amherst is not going to accept the 6% increase in the budget. So
Saying the Amherst Town Council.
yeah, and their financial team. So we'll see what happens. We can't even plan because we don't have the facts. It's really awful, you know.
And
Awesome.
procedurally, we end up changing, amending on our floor, that should be 6% change, and then the town council and other factors approve something different, does that make it automatically a no? Because we're not agreeing?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Boom, no. It's the truth that 4 towns have to agree on these. On the.
Assessment.
Yeah, on the spot. On the method, yeah.
So this one article has to be approved by
4 towns. 4 towns.
all 4 times.
Yeah.
And it has to be the same article for all 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to be.
And we know what the other towns are doing on it.
But remember, in the article that's written now doesn't match the numbers they gave us.
Right.
The article is,
Yeah.
and I think the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we may end up coming back at a town meeting.
So would we, potentially have to have another town, a special town
Well,
meeting then?
I think AJ was getting to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I think the procedure would be to hold open the annual town meeting. We would continue the meeting at a later date, presumably after whatever I said, the 29th or whenever the Amherst Town Council voted on theirs, to resolve this, the Article 2 and the budget, the regional school budget.
If we hold it open, things that we passed will still be in effect. It's just that one piece is,
We're not re-voting any other article.
Right, you can do everything but.
the budget wouldn't be settled. Is Paul here?
I think I thought I saw he was. Has he been in the loop on all of this?
I wrote to him to try to use it.
I do have a question about keeping it open. If we keep the meeting open, the warrant articles were advertised before the meeting. We keep the meeting open. It's the same warrant article. What does keeping the meeting open do? Can we add a new warrant article in the middle of all this?
We just might know a different amendment we might be able to make.
On the one that's already there.
On the article.
Got it.
So it's a long shot.
And while I have the floor, just one other thing I did want to mention. I think AJ, you may have said it, but the beauty of the 6% is whatever's agreed on, and Bob is saying that we all pretty much think it's not going to be more than 6%. But whatever happens on April 20th, we're in a good position to cover it, we can lower it. So I guess AJ did say that. But
yeah, I mean, we were sort of proceeding on this assumption, which is that we can amend these warrants in a downward direction on the floor without with support from the moderator, but a significant increase would be a problem. So that's why we had to sort of find a number that we both sort of felt reasonably comfortable with if it were to end up there. But that gave us a little bit of room to come down. That's what ends up getting agreed from.
And the 6% number is Shutesbury's portion of the assessment as the full budget that the school committee has. And our 6% would be our statutory assessment piece. The other towns are not likely to be able to meet their statutory assessment pieces. Quite like they're 12%, 16%.
Over 20.
No, 16, and then 12, and then Amherst was 7.33. They're not likely to meet their assessment, but we have voted on meeting our assessment at 6%. With no guardrail noise in the background.
And the other thing I wanted to say, about the point, we are using extra funding capacity, $13,000, which on a $7.2 million budget. And we also went to town meeting last year with a budget that required the use of excess levy capacity balance. And that didn't happen when the assessors were done. The assessors were done setting a tax rate. Our levy capacity grew. We did not use any of that. And we used revenue estimates that are considered. So the 13,000 is not likely to happen, even in 6% situation. But again, it's not as relative to the issues that we're facing.
Can we ask Paul if he?
Go ahead. Yeah, Paul.
Lions? You're listening?
Yes,
to this?
I am here, but the sound quality is really difficult. I don't know if it's just me, but I've been trying to follow this as best I can, but it's difficult.
Okay, just, yeah, speak up. Were you able to follow that discussion at all about Article 2?
I believe I was. So I think the issue is that what now is a 4% figure towards the end of that article could be as high as 8 or maybe 6, but it might have to be amended on town meeting floor. Is that the gist of it?
It currently, Paul, because we thought the article was badly written. I hadn't swapped it out because we were hoping for a corrected one. The amount is going to be 8.2% straight across. They're just doing a straight 8.2% for every town.
That's what the warrant article will include, 8.2%?
Yes.
Okay, and then on town meeting floor, we might have better information and it might be changed to something lower than that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But we might need, so if we had to wait until after the 29th, which we could wait till the following Saturday potentially, after Amherst meets and votes their number, could we continue the meeting and hold open the budget vote article?
Yeah, that should not be a problem. I mean, many towns have their town meeting over a number of different nights and they just continue it from night to night. So yeah, that would not be a problem.
Well,
The only other, I think, proposal, and I think it's what Leverett is going to do, is that they are pulling, I think we're not totally sure the logic of this, but they're basically pulling out the regional assessment out of their budget and dealing with it as a separate article. And so their budget, their main budget article is going to essentially be their town's budget minus their regional assessment, and then they're going to treat that other assessment separately. And I think part of that was because there was disagreement. I'm not sure. I know from on the FinCom, I'm not sure about the select board about whether to recommend the passing the regional assessment at the 8.2% amount. So I think that's how they're handling it.
So would that make sense for us to do? I mean, there's some logic in doing that, right? Because then you could pass the full budget, and then you just have the school budget done at a.
I'd like to hear what Paul's thoughts are, because I think when you take a piece out of the budget kind of falls apart. I mean, you can. It's just.
But like the tax rate is going to be driven. There's going to be a factor in the tax rate. So yeah, I think part of the problem is that I think as a citizen of the town, you might feel like, wait, what am I looking at here? What am I contemplating? This is a budget. It looks like a budget. It looks like the budget I look at every year, but it's missing pretty substantial items.
I like this budget.
Yeah.
I think there's more logic in holding open the meeting. I mean, it's sort of doing the same thing, but in a more logical way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also that, we had the town meeting the last couple of years much later than this day, and we survived it. So extending the meeting to another session doesn't seem to really be a threat to any of our finances.
And it keeps the structure of the budget whole, so we're not.
Plus, I'll be back.
He'll be back.
He told us he's missing town meeting.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be just a pro forma meeting. I didn't think it was going to be so exciting.
They're all excited.
It's actually a trip.
But this is what we've done before lunch.
Yeah. Okay.
Good last words.
Okay, should we go, is there
Yeah.
other, should we go through other?
Yeah, you guys need to vote on all the articles. Did you call your meeting to order?
No, I should do that. So I think I saw,
Jim.
Both Jims are up
Jim.
yeah, I think I see enough FinCom members in the Zoom, so I'm gonna call the Finance Committee to order at 6:23. So, okay. So how are we gonna do this procedure-wise? Are we, it's like the select board gonna vote on the warrant and then us, or are we just dealing with?
They only have to vote on the
whole
total
thing?
warrant.
Okay, got it. All right, so we're gonna hold off on 2, right? At this point. Okay. Oh, I see, you did.
Sure.
So Becky, just wherever I see finance committees, that's my clue that we need to vote
Yes.
on whether to recommend that. Okay. So Article 3 will set salary compensation as contained. So I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 3.
Jim has a hand up there.
Yeah.
Jim Walton? See your hand up?
Yeah, AJ, yeah, thanks. I joined at 6. Can you just comment on who from FinCom is present in person?
All right. So
do we have the whole committee? Maybe you don't. I see there's Jim and myself on Zoom. Do you the other 5 members all present?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
We have first and second on 3.
Yeah. I usually start with George, but he walked out.
Next letter of the alphabet.
Okay, I'm second, so. Groves, aye.
Hemingway.
Aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right.
We'll ask George when he comes back.
Yeah. Right now that's 6.
That's
All right. Article 4, authorize the treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements. So I'll make a motion to recommend for the finance committee to recommend approval of Article 4.
Second.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Article 5, to see if the town will vote to allow the select board to apply for, accept, and expend state, federal, and other grants which do not require a town appropriation or take any other action. I'll second. Susie made the motion. I'll second.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right. Article 6, to see if the town will approve the appointment pursuant to MGL chapter of Catherine Hilton as Board of Health Administrative Consultant, while also serving as an elected official on the Board of Health. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 6.
Second. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right. Article 7, to see if the town will approve the appointment pursuant to MGL Chapter 268 blah, 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 of Walter Tibbetts as cemetery groundskeeper while also serving as an elected official on the Cemetery Commission. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 7.
Second.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
That's
These
new.
are in order and George is making copies.
Oh, okay, that's what he's doing.
I wonder what happened. We haven't set out a search party.
All right, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to adopt as a town of Shutesbury general bylaw, 225 CMR 22 and 23, entitled Specialized Energy Code for the purpose of regulating the design and construction of buildings for the effective use of energy and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions pursuant to the entirety of 225 CMR 22 and 23. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve, to recommend approval of Article 8.
Second, but I'd like a discussion. Did that have a public hearing? Did they have their public hearing on this?
They did have, yes, they did have an information session. There will be another one at the budget hearing. We're going to go back through it as well.
So, and this has financial impact on people who are trying to build in Shutesbury, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that hasn't, and this is an extension of the current stretch code demands.
This is, they're calling it a, additional, it's called the specialty code, the specialty energy code, and it's,
It adds to.
and once you adopt it, it will automatically adopt you until 2050. So this is the key point, decision-making point. If you're going to say yes, you're committed for the next decades. So it's worth some review and consideration.
Right. We haven't discussed this in the committee meeting. So I think make a note of that. I'm going to be opposed to this because I'm a builder and I read the details of what you emailed us today. And I was not in favor of the original. And I've worked in towns that are stretched communities and those that are not. And I find that a lot of the regulations to be not really smart. I mean, they're just a lot of it's untested in my view. And it's also more expensive for people to do something with their house. So whenever we vote, I'm going to be voting against it.
Quick question. Is it essential that we, as a committee, vote on this tonight? Or is this something we can?
Have to vote to recommend it. I don't think you have to recommend it.
Does that impact the posting?
Can we vote abstain? I mean, that's what I want to vote, because I don't feel like I've heard enough discussion in town. Just I didn't go to the first hearing and I don't know how people are feeling about it in town. So I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
That's an option.
Abel is back.
George and April, we're looking at Article 8, but we're recognizing that we haven't had an opportunity to discuss this at all in our committee. So
I think you can, I mean, I think, and the select board's done this before, we've chosen not to vote on an article to put our sponsorship or whatever on it.
I think, but they're required by statute. I mean, by their
bylaw. That is, no, this doesn't have any financial thing to the town. It's to the partners. Right, but
it does have financial impact to townspeople.
No, but I meant the budget, but yeah.
And it's what if it has implications, financial implications to the town or the people of the town. So, but you can make, if you don't want to vote tonight, then you can make a comment on town meeting floor. It's just, because you're not in a position to vote.
Or
do what I think Susie said she's doing herself, which is abstaining from the vote. So this will have a recorded vote. Okay.
So make a motion, we vote on this?
If we'll abstain, that doesn't.
I'm not going to abstain.
Well, Bob's going to vote.
I'm not known for my abstinence.
I think I would rather have a chance to discuss it as a committee rather than abstain right now.
Rather than abstain.
Yes.
So I guess I'm not entirely clear
what motion are we on then?
That's an option.
You can connect, say yes, but no, I'll say yes, but.
That's not necessary.
And I have a full set here.
All right, so I think, I mean, if we're required by statute to vote.
By your bylaw.
Yeah, by our bylaw, I see. I think we have to do a vote. I think there's nothing that prevents us from having a discussion about this at our next meeting and making a comment on the floor that says we've had a more extensive discussion about this and this is our current.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do that then. So I'll second Bob's motion.
Okay, then George back.
So George, we're voting on an article, whether to recommend approval of Article 8. I think some of us are going to abstain because we don't feel like we have sufficient that opportunity to study this or discuss it, but we do have to take a vote tonight. So, yes. So do you want to kick off our vote?
I understand. Rhodes, nay.
Hemingway, nay.
Cashew, abstain.
Roger, abstain.
Wait a minute. And then it.
The numbers will be there.
It'll
Okay,
be,
we can, okay,
yeah.
right, Stein abstain.
Walton, abstain.
5 abstains. 2
Can we make sure we have that on our agenda for a next meeting? And would there be someone there that can fill us in on the background and details?
Yeah.
There is the recording of that piece that they did earlier on the website, if you want to watch through.
Yeah, if you go to ECAC's website, they also have some charts in there that show kind of the impact. Yeah, I was just looking at that today.
If I were to reach out to somebody, I assume it's Michael or
Yeah, Michael DeCare.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll certainly try to get him at our next meeting, and if that's not possible, I'll send an email with a link to that recording. All right, I'll move on. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to adopt Chapter 138, Section 33B, for the Shutesbury Athletic Club to sell liquor at 10 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, or take any other action. I'll make a motion to approve Article 9. Sorry, to recommend approval of Article 9. Thanks.
Question.
Second.
Jim's got a question? Yeah.
Yeah, does this, I'm not clear why the finance committee's role is on this one.
This one is on the edge for sure.
I'm sorry, say that. I couldn't quite hear you.
Impact to a business. It's on the edge, but it does impact the business.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Some people, it's really hard to hear some people.
Right at the top. Go ahead, speak loudly.
It impacts a business in town, so there's financial implications. It's definitely on.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. George?
Abernathy, aye. Rhodes, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Roger, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to amend the town revolving fund bylaws to add a cemetery commission revolving fund with a spending limit of $2,000 to be spent on cremations, burials by contractors and groundskeeping work, source of funds to come from cremation and burial fees, with only cemetery commissioners having access to the revolving funds. All right, so I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 10.
Second.
Becky, can you give me some background on this one? Like, why are we setting up the revolving fund now?
Partially because Walter has been on the commission for a very long time. There are 2 or 3 newer members who have realized that Walter does a lot of work as groundskeeper. And they feel that it's excessive. He does maintenance on equipment. He does a lot of work. He sets up all the cremations. He sets up all the funerals. And so they wanted to establish the fund, the revolving fund, so that they can be able to pay him. And they already collect fees. What has been happening in the past, which I won't go into details, is not the best practice. So they're upping their practice by making sure all the fees are deposited into the town. And then when they need to get a new blade on the lawnmower, then it'll come out of the revolving fund. So they'll have all
That
the
hasn't
fees
existed.
It has not existed to
Okay,
date.
thank
The
you.
fees have been going directly to like if the contractor who dug the hole or the other person.
I
So
see.
they're trying to up the game and make it more professional.
Thank you very much.
I was a little confused when I first read this, with the spending limit of 2,000 to be spent on cremations. It's like, that sounds like somehow the town is involved.
Cremations, burials by contractors, and groundskeeping work.
So if somebody got cremated, what is that part?
They still have to bury, they do plots.
Okay.
And they have to prepare the plots. The ashes do go in a hole.
Right, I guess that was that.
And
So
it has to
it's a
be
little
done.
unclear in the language that it says cremation, not cremation.
Yeah.
Cremation burials.
Or burials might be broad enough to cover cremation.
There's a noun for cremation.
That sentence does.
Whatever's left over ashes is
Yeah,
not
it's spreading them
that
as
is ashes.
All those factors are required to be included. And there's like 5 factors. Donna reviewed this article for me.
But the cremation is paid for by the deceased family or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't do cremations.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, 90
Groves out.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, abstain.
6 yes, no abstain. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to approve annual spending limits for FY 2025 for revolving funds established in the town bylaws, to authorize revolving funds for certain town departments we've got a table. Are any of those changed from the previous year? Okay, so
Except the addition, I will be adding, Donna said I could add the cemetery this year.
Okay.
As long as the warrant article to create it is before it.
Any discussion? I'll make a motion to approve, to recommend approval.
No second.
Yeah, a question.
Yeah, Jim?
AJ?
Yep, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm just maybe I just need some clarity on this. Why wouldn't these be somewhat of part of the budget process as opposed to a warrant?
Because they're revolving funds. So we have departments that have established fees, like the electrical inspector, who collects a set amount of fees from all the building, electrical work that's done in town. That money goes into the revolving fund. We can't budget for it. We don't know how much he's going to do, how much the fees that will be collected, but it's a mechanism whereby we don't have to appropriate these funds that the town utilizes in doing services, because it's pulling in fees and using the fees to pay for their programs. We've had them for decades. This is not new, Jim.
And Jim, I don't know if you heard the earlier comment. These spending limits are unchanged from last year.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And maybe that's part of the issue is and Paul alluded to this earlier. The sound, at least from the room, is challenging. It's hard to pick up on a lot of the discussion.
We just have to remember to look at the owl and project.
When you're speaking.
It's easy to look at this.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Becky, are we voting on Article 12? It says potential requests. It's just PFAS.
I think it's helpful if you do, and if it goes away, it goes away. But, so potentially, it's a second request to the Clean Water Trust for additional funds. We have expended the 150 for this year. I will have expended it by the end of the year, and our responsibilities will not be completed. They're continuous at this point. So we will need additional funding. It would be a source that we would get some relief as far as principal reduction from the loan. This is our only opportunity at this point to get reduced funding for PFAS. And I have gotten a quote from Jeffrey Arps for around $100,000, about $105,000 for the upcoming 2025 year. So we're hoping that other lab fees are reduced. It might be more prudent to raise this number, but at this point, I think if we can move ahead with this number, it would benefit the towns to have flexibility enough in our borrowing to continue our service to the community.
Can I ask you a question? How confident are you that this funding, this loan program is going to continue for FY25?
Oh, I'm totally confident.
So we're probably going to go that way.
Yeah, I think it.
This is just a backup plan.
No, this allows us to.
No, this allows.
Oh, it allows us to apply for it.
Yes, it allows us.
So this is
a
prerequisite for.
Yeah. Okay. This is the vote that is required, to get the funds.
I understand that. Just very briefly, what do you see on the horizon here? Is there anything visible? Any end to this visible?
Well, if it keeps moving fast enough, it might go to Lefford or Amherst, and we won't be here anymore. But
I see. I'm talking about the problem. Yeah, you think it might move downhill?
It is moving downhill currently.
Yeah, it could take decades. It could take decades before it reaches.
Yeah.
It went from the fire station to my house and now to George's house.
Really? So
it's moving
that's pretty
towards
slow. No, my house is uphill. Sorry.
It's groundwater. It's all downhill.
Yeah.
Can I? Oh, I just had a question about the language to vote to appropriate a sum of money, but it's borrowing, isn't it?
It is borrowing. This is the Clean Water Trust statute, and I went over it. Donna looked at it again today, and her only concern was the phrase up to not to exceed. She was concerned that terminology is no longer acceptable at the AG's office. So that was her concern about it. But yeah, this is the same wording that we voted last year in January.
I didn't mean it. No, that's okay.
What wording would you want there? You said not to exceed is not acceptable by the AG's office.
You either drop it.
You have to speak to the Alice.
Yeah, she said just her preference was to drop it. I told her this came from Clean Water Trust, and she said, "Oh, leave it."
I have a question for the FinCom. Has the first $150,000 borrowing been incorporated in the budget yet?
No.
When?
We're not paying. It's a remarkably slow process. The select board will be signing 4 documents tonight. Oh, I'm getting confused. That's the earmark. But it's still a very slow process.
So it's not in our borrowing yet? Okay.
No, it is not in the borrowing yet.
George?
So do we know what the annual debt service will be when it starts?
10 years. The interest, they originally said 0 interest.
Oh, 15 grand. $15,000.
The part that I'm concerned about is they said there would be principal forgiveness, and I was quoted 20%. When I talked to Ty and Bond looked us up on their chart, their standing chart, and it shows us at 10%. So I think they I have to check in with Maria and ask her if we can expect a 20 or higher or not. They said it could be as high as 40%. So I think we're a small project for them. They're typically dealing in millions of dollars. So if we were to borrow, to raise this to 200,000, that wouldn't make a difference in their, in how they look at us. We're smaller, and we might, I believe we'll still get a higher principal reimbursement. I mean, rebate.
I don't think so I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 12.
I'll second that.
George?
Abernathy, aye.
Rhodes, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right. So Article 13 is our budget article to see if the town will vote. So are we gonna?
Oh, hold on, that was me.
Do it.
That's me.
Oh, gotcha.
I'll be right back. Hold on, I got sent in. Apparently, but go ahead. I'll put it back up in a second.
So I guess I have a question. Since our budget is up in the air at this point, are we voting?
I think it's still coming through like a freight train. So I mean, the numbers of what we're going to ask are kind of up in the air. Actually, since I only got Jeffrey's budget, I think it was yesterday. I really think we need to go 200,000 would be my recommendation.
Okay. Oh, I see. So on the.
But I think it's serious and we
thing.
need to move ahead. But if 150 is more palatable to people, then
that's true.
Well, we just
voted.
We just voted on that.
Then we're good. Sorry.
So
I didn't understand
he
the
was
question.
asking about the
So
general.
my question was about the next
Next
article, which is the budget article 13. And so my question is, does it make sense for us to vote on this, knowing that we're likely to make some
Yes.
changes? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, borrow, or otherwise provide a sum of money to meet town expenses, including operations, capital, salaries, and school expenses of $7,207,878 by raising the sum of $7,117,000. Looks like there's a typo.
Okay, so this article, I'm afraid I updated after I got things out by Friday.
Yeah.
So today, this is amended to include $70,000 of free cash. So by raising the sum of $7,117,000, subtracting the 453, and transferring $70,000 from free cash and $20,425 from the septic betterment fund. Because you guys added the use of $70,000 of free cash to create the budget. So that had to be amended.
But it still equals $7,207,870.
Yes.
Those three pieces.
Right. Okay.
Second.
Yeah. So, are there questions or is there discussion?
Well, I feel like I'm going to abstain on this because of the lack of information that we have. And I think that that's important to me, that I vote for something to recommend something that's got so many question marks. So I'm not going to vote against it because I think we've gone over it together.
Right.
We understand what we form a consensus around, but there's so much missing from the equation that I can't support it. And I am concerned about the tax rate, and this is the regional school budget and our school budget are two things driving that tax rate up. So I'm going to abstain when we call the vote on it.
And then I think you're identifying so many unanswered questions, but it's really one budget that's the unanswered. And what we voted was to put in 6%, so we feel that we are prepared to meet the budget, and it's pretty likely that it might go down from there. So in that reason, I feel like we've prepared for this situation.
Really?
Any other discussion or questions?
Yeah, question.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe Susie answered it. I'm not quite sure. This includes a 6% increase for the regional
Correct.
school?
Yep, it's the 6% that we voted on in our last meeting.
Oh, doesn't that include the 8%?
No,
No.
I thought you said you put that in the warrant.
I had put it in, that's what you
Right.
looked
Now it's
at.
got 6%.
And at that point, I think we had like a $49,000
Okay.
of excess
So,
levy
okay,
capacity,
I'm
and
clear
then
on that.
we reduced it to the 13.
Thanks.
And this is the budget that we voted and approved last week.
Correct. So Jim, just to make sure you heard that, it does include the region at 6%. George?
And I think we should, we did come to consensus and we had the conversation, and this is the budget that we come up with at this moment, because we have with all the information we have, that's what we have. And it will be amended, but I see no reason not to approve it.
It might not.
And no, it will probably be amended, but it's the best information we have, and we've also drawn a line in the sand, if you will. We've set the percentage that we're willing to increase for the regional budget. And that's going to send a message to the other towns on how we're willing to go. And so by approving this budget, they'll see that.
Any other questions, comments? All right.
Urban aside.
Groves abstain. I understand your arguments, but
Hemingway abstain as well.
Ashu, aye.
Moser, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, I.
So that passes 5, 2 abstentions. Okay. So now we're coming into, we're up to, there's no 14 here, yeah.
It's bad luck.
Oh,
is that
definitely
what
not.
It's 13.
Elevator.
13's not good luck.
like baseball.
Elevator.
Well, it's like this.
So,
That's all. See? See, I got it.
Oh,
so I'm wondering, the FinCom has voted on
So,
our proposal for how these capital items want to be funded. Can I treat them as a group right now for the purpose of sharing?
well, we know, I don't know.
So,
I just want to correct one thing, because that, one of the updates is the building committee renovation fund is 40,000 in total, and this was, we're only asking for 30,000 from free cash. We're building 10,000 into the appropriated budget.
Right.
So that number is 30,000.
With the plan of increase.
Yeah, and then year by year increasing 10,000 appropriated next year.
so does anybody from the FinCom have an objection to me basically treating these capital projects as a group?
Not I.
All but the gravel road, which is stabilization.
Okay, yeah.
Stabilization.
All right, so let's do what I have is Article 15 to Article 19. These are our proposed capital projects. They include $40,000 for the building committee renovation. 30. Yeah, 30 for the building committee renovation fund. 12,000 for for body cameras for the police department. $70,588 for a new cruiser for the police department. $4,500 for a new storage unit for the highway department, and $25,000 for a new generator and propane tank for the highway department. And the finance committee considered options for funding those, and we voted, I think unanimously for all of them, to utilize free cash reserves to fund those projects if they are to pass. So I will make a motion to recommend approval of Articles 15 through 19.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Arnett, aye. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
So Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer from capital stabilization $12,000 for additional funds for materials to rebuild portions of gravel roads or take any other action. So this is the one capital project that we proposed funding through a source other than free cash, and that is our capital stabilization funds. This was an item that was originally included in the highway department's proposed operating budget, and we encouraged Steve to bring this to the capital planning committee because we see it as a capital improvement, and he agreed to do that. Capital planning voted to approve that, and so I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 20. Second. Any discussion?
Yes, question.
Yeah.
Requires 2/3 vote, capital stabilization spending. The governor recently signed a bill to change.
Did it get signed?
I don't know.
I think it begins July 1st, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So there's
So we have to check.
we have,
What would that change?
It would
To
make it a
majority vote.
majority vote.
yeah, the governor, that was part of the budget.
Governor, I heard him, well, the Baker spoke to that. It was a pet peeve. I guess he was proactive in his own community and zoning bylaws kept failing. And he got so mad about it, he got the law
But this
changed.
is Healy. Is Healy proposing this change?
Well,
It's a spillover.
Their study.
it's a spillover.
Yeah, okay.
It's part of the municipal.
Yeah, I was curious.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Arnett, aye.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Okay.
And the correction there is highway, not school.
Yes.
Yes. Sponsor, yeah. Okay. Article 21, to see if the town of Shutesbury will vote to act on the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee on the fiscal year 2025 budget to transfer from the Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues, the sums of $6,000 to open space and recreation, $6,000 to historic preservation, $6,000 to community housing, and $35,000 to the FY25 Community Preservation Fund. So,
Can we do 21 and 22?
yeah, that's a good idea. Article 22 is to see if the town of Shutesbury will vote to appropriate $2,500 from fiscal year 25 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues for necessary and proper administrative and operational expenses of the Shutesbury Community Preservation Committee. All right, so I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Articles 21 and 22.
I'll second.
Pro forma, any discussion? George?
Arnett, aye. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Article 23,
That's correct.
to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $351,120 for the MLP Enterprise Fund beginning July 1, 2024. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 23. Any discussion? George?
Arnett, aye. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Just the last ones are the bills of prior years.
All right. So Articles 24 and 25 relate to prior fiscal year bills that need to be paid. They require 4/5 majority votes. So I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Articles 24 25.
Second.
Any discussion? George?
Urbanitis, aye. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosher, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Is that it?
Yep.
Yes, welcome to Select Board.
Just the way it's gonna be from now on. Interesting.
Finance committee for all your hard work. Sounds like it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not over.
No,
It's not over, right? It's
Yeah.
not over. It's-
Ready to adjourn?
Ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the finance committee.
Second.
Urbanitis, aye. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosher, aye.
Stein, aye.
Walton, aye.
All right.
When are you meeting again?
We are meeting
Billboard.
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yep.
We're working on the report.
So the 16th,
Yeah.
Correct.
and then the Four Towns meeting is on the
On
20th.
the 20th, yeah.
I have a bolt.
Oh, that's. Your birthday was
420.
Your birthday's 420?
That's far.
My husband's sister's.
See you guys, we gotta.
They have not let her live it down.
Appointment, sorry.
Have a good night, all.
Thank you.
All right, do we have to vote on anything with this?
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, we do. We have to vote on this ourselves. But as a whole, not as a individual.
Yes.
Need my gavel, a gavel.
Bye, George.
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Can
Bye.
you tell me you're on your way up?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, now,
So.
do I hear a motion for the select board to approve the town meeting warrant for 2024?
I'm just still confused about Article 2.
Yeah.
If we're not voting on it, how is it going to be on the warrant? Or when is the decision going to be made about whether or not Article 2 is on the warrant? Or
Well, I think you should vote on, anticipate there will be an article there. We hesitated because it was the 8.2 and they didn't combine with the right numbers. The 8.2 works out to the number with 36 million. And then the other numbers are like $2 million less. Anyway, I think we have to.
but I guess my understanding was that we leave the 8.2 in and then we can go down from there.
Right.
Okay.
So we can.
So we have it in at 8.2.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that,
Are you guys
you
okay?
guys? Yeah. Okay. And then the only other article was 12.
Yeah.
Where they voted, the finance committee recommended 150,000.
So they recommended the number that was
there. So we would go with that, but that we would put it in as 150 and keep our fingers crossed that that's sufficient.
Yeah, and when it's not, we're gonna have to figure out our plan B. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I don't think there were any other articles that where there was a question, right? It was just
I think
those
we're on
two
pretty
articles.
solid ground everywhere except those two.
Okay.
On Article 27, to sponsor select board, are we sponsoring? I guess we're sponsoring it just in the sense that we've never even talked about it, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, it's the energy.
Isn't that
bylaw.
isn't that ECAC? Isn't that ECAC?
Yeah, that wouldn't be us. They brought it forward.
It's because it's a general bylaw, right?
They,
Isn't that was the reason?
This means that we're sponsoring, meaning we want to bring it up to vote.
Yes, that we're
not necessarily sponsoring it. That is to say, we're not necessarily kind of.
We've not had our name on other bylaws before.
I think Michael wrote that in and I copied and pasted. But we can change that to ECAP.
Yeah, it was theirs, right? Yeah.
And while we're at it, in number ones on that, that's where that Shutesbury spelled wrong. I know I've seen it somewhere.
This is all, yeah, you guys, unfortunately, I sent the updated thing today, but you guys are looking at the one that was approved red.
Okay, that's fine.
Except for Rita, who read the latest.
Okay, just.
Because she got 3 or 4 good proofreading credits.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the warrant as presented and amended this evening.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Carol, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Thank you, Sonia. I'm sorry. Okay. So now we have the groundskeeper for the cemetery commission. I don't see Walter.
Sorry, what?
Was Walter
The cemetery commission, cemetery groundskeeper, the review appointment of. I know who it is and I can give the information, but I don't see Walter.
But I think he would like us to move it.
Okay.
His appointment is Carl
Launder. So
Carl was here.
yes, he was. He had to duck off. He just texted. So anyway, so Carl, Walter and Carl met with the entire cemetery commission, and they approved unanimously to hire him as groundskeeper to help Walter with the information about Carl. He has extensive groundskeeping and landscaping and soil management training. About 25 years he was a landscaper, owned his own company for a while, worked for multiple companies, went to the Stockbridge School of Agriculture for hardscapes and such. So he's worked with stonescapes and such. So he understands the care of different types of stones, trained with all of the equipment that is there at the cemetery. If you have any other questions, I will abstain from voting on this one because I know this person very well, so I will abstain from this.
So I just want to make sure I pronounce his last name, Launder. Okay.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we appoint Carl Launder as the cemetery groundskeeper.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Carol, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Wilson Makepeace abstain.
You need to sign.
Yes. I won't. I'm not going to read it.
I'll put it in the file.
All right. Yeah. Next is earmarks documents for signature.
These are all in regards to the 200. When we first applied, we hadn't completed the project, and there was a different set of papers to fill out. But now, because we completed that one project and it's split now between
this is a school roof. So we got the earmark and we
only used a portion of it. We only used $69,000 of it. So we're using the balance of it for the trim and painting, the repair, the exterior work to the school, which had been estimated at $148,000. But we now have a bid for $100,001 is our low bidder, our low qualified bidder. We had a bidder for $56,000 who added negative $40,000 for the alternate. And we believe he misunderstood the alternate and how it fits. So that bid is being rejected. And that leaves the new bidder, Santos Painting, at $100,000. So our earmark funds are dependent on signatures to these documents. We have a settlement to release document. And we have the authorized signatory for the Commonwealth contract.
But these were all in our packet, yeah.
Yeah, confusing everyone, I'm sorry. And that's the Commonwealth contract for $200,000. And here's an addendum that does not need to be signed, but really helps you understand the importance of all these different pieces and what has to happen next.
So we're not going to sign right now because I want to make sure we're signing on the right line because I know it's happened before that we signed on the wrong line.
We're going to pack it all back up in here.
Okay, so these all go back into the state.
I have to send them back to Joseph Harrington.
Yeah. And they assure that we're getting, that the town gets the full amount of the earmark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, it's going to, the money was drawn off the Executive Office of Economic Development.
That was just the. Okay, so I'll make a motion that the select board execute the state earmark documents for the $200,000.
Second.
So move second. All right, all those in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stocker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
And we basically covered the Clean Water Trust in conversations with income.
But what are there documents?
Well, I was going to go back to what Jeffrey had. It's what Jeffrey presented last time are the documents that if we were going to review it in detail again to explain why we would have to pay them. I just wrote documents because I was trying to figure out how to put the picture together.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay.
And then we have in the packet is the item that shows the bid. This is in preparation for the contract. It's from Gale and Associates.
I didn't see it. Can you put it up?
Oops. I can put it up. Okay. No. Yeah, it should be. Well, how about you guys look at it? Yeah. It's in the pack.
What's the title of the document?
A40671.
Oh.
Shutesbury bid summary letter.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
It's an
all right. I must have
engineering document.
missed it. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see how odd the Catco bid is? But the others, and the engineers and building committee had assumed there should not be much cost in making the change that they had recommended, which was using a sheet of PVC to cover the edges instead of using individual blocks because they were concerned about the number of joints, the horizontal and vertical joints. It reduced the number of joints dramatically by changing it without too much cost difference.
So Gale and Associates, they review the bids and make sure that the contractors are okay, that they meet all of the requirements.
In this letter, they go through, they have not themselves worked with this contractor. They did have 2 good reference calls back,
Okay.
which they review in the letter. So that makes them feel satisfactory. There it is. 2 of the Santos 5 references returned Gail's correspondence. Generally, the references were positive with favorable results.
Okay. All right, good. So you need us to vote on the approval of the contract?
Yes, that would be great. Then you could sign it. It will be for $100,001.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the contract for Santos Painting for the elementary school exterior trim, siding repair, surface preparation, and painting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stocker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so last item.
Share that.
I'm not sure if I got this in there.
You did.
Yeah,
It's in
I
our
did.
We're scrolling through. So this was an open meeting complaint about our executive minutes for the
10/28. That detail isn't in there.
No, that date's not either. Saying that we had not conducted a review of the minutes and released them to the public. So I had contacted Donna about it, and she had told me that because these fell under exemption, that they were not we could decide not to release them to the public because it was a personnel related. So I responded to the request appropriately with Donna's guidance. And then we got the open meeting request. Grace did look at my response and did say that she found we had not violated an open meeting or open records. That it is, when there's executive minutes, it is up to the chair, or in this case, co-chairs, can individually read through them and review them and decide if they go forward. And that's what I had done. So we felt in the law, and it does fall still under that exemption for release. That makes sense.
Yes. So just remind me with the process here. So we respond to the
Within 10 business days, we
right.
have to respond.
Right.
So that's what this letter will do. It goes to a copy goes to the AG's office, and the other copy goes to Amanda Alex.
Okay. All right. Do you need anything from us on this? Or?
That's all I need.
Signatures. Okay.
Maybe this one you could sign.
Okay.
Yeah. This was not.
This is good. Okay. And now we are going on to town administrator updates.
Okay. So I'm gonna be a little quick. So the Leverett fire chief has gotten a grant from the Collins Center to study regionalization. And he has invited Shutesbury, Wendell, and New Salem. And he just emailed this week and scheduled a meeting for May 1st for the town administrators and the fire chiefs to have an initial round of discussion and sharing of information so Collins Center can develop their report, which I thought was pretty important for you guys to know.
Yep.
And then the just want to be sure, I think I might have forwarded it, but Donna over the last year has been working to, for the library to get release of the funds in the library trust. And she has gotten the permission of the allowance that the funds can be released and used for the library building project. That came through on April 2nd. So they had found on the library's behalf, they go through the history of the library because they review the original deed. It was a bequest of William and Spear in 1932 for the trust, and that's what they are allowing the release and use of those funds by the library for the library. So that's important.
Cool.
And
do we need to vote or sign on anything that
no.
you pulled out? Okay.
Nope, just an update. And again, the other thing I'm trying to get done is the DER grant for engineering for the Dudleyville culvert in conjunction with the work that's being done by Lois Brown. Those are my updates. Well, I should probably mention that our police chief is now a grandmother.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
That's
pretty
exciting.
important.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Becky, I just had a few things that I thought that I wanted to mention for the next meeting. I thought this was appropriate time. So the first is the Conservation Commission appointment. And I thought that it would be appropriate to, I know we had a recommendation from the Conservation Commission, and I wanted to see if we could invite all three candidates to come to see if, since the select board makes the recommendation, so invite all three candidates to come to our next meeting.
Makes the appointment.
I'm sorry.
Makes the recommendation.
Makes the appointment. Sorry, thank you. I'm getting a little tired. It's getting close to my bedtime. Makes the appointment.
I had a call from Bob Douglas tonight, and I told him that we were moving it to the next agenda, and he thanked me for calling him back, and I told him I'd let him know what time it would be on the next agenda.
Okay, great.
So we'll do that for all three. So,
and then another thing is, I know, and Eric, you were sort of taking the lead on the Lake Wyola stormwater.
Well, yeah, the Lake Wyola, the LWAC, and some associated people are interested in like whether or not there is a way to get any grant money that would take care of road projects, water projects related to roads, that both the town and Lake Wyola could share that money. I don't know if there's, I know that this question has been going on for decades.
this is
that an MVP? Could that be an MVP?
Potentially, that was the first MVP that failed, was attempting to do stormwater at Lake Wyola. Because that's the one tool or the one avenue that supports private-public partnerships.
That's the only one, basically?
That's the one that currently has money.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's something else out there. I know that Mark had discussed with Grace what, the difference between a subcommittee or a task force. Maybe if the MVP is the one to target. We're hoping to do the Dudleyville culvert out of that too.
Can we at least meet with them, or what? I mean, what do they?
Yeah, I think.
Well, we're trying to figure out how to create a group to meet.
Yeah. The question is, does the select board appoint somebody's buddies to be on a committee to study this, or do we just have an ad hoc task force study it, or how do we study this?
If it's related to the town, even an ad hoc
task
force would have to be appointed.
Right.
mean, if they want to, see, that's the problem. There's a strong contingency in the association that feels the town should upgrade all the roads for the association
Right.
around the lake. And they want us to fund it.
Right, I know, yeah.
That's been the fight for 25 years.
Sure.
And it comes up, every new select board member that joins
Right.
LWAC gets attacked by this. April went through it, everybody goes through it. She held them off, but we're trying to get to a point where we can try to do some good work with available funds. If I know one person that was interested in this topic at the lake, had written grants in New York City and is very skilled at it. It would be great to have these people working together, you know.
Sure.
I think the MVP is the only answer to your first question, but you know, I'm sure there's other answers out there. I mean, Marianne finds grants in the oddest places. So
so it sounds like we should have at least Mark Rivers and other people come to the next meeting and just say what they want us to do. There's no reason, I can't see any reason not to appoint a committee if they want to have a committee to investigate, you know what I mean?
It's not giving, you know, $1 million to a nonprofit or a private organization.
Right.
But if they want to, that would be great.
So we can put that on the agenda?
Yeah,
okay, good.
I told Eric when I just couldn't fit it on here.
Tonight
was a little
good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's why I told him the 23rd will work, but we're in the midst of.
I didn't know you did because I don't talk to him.
You can't ask me if I did that.
I was trying to keep you focused on everything else that you had to do tonight. God. And then the emergency management team, we talked about that the last time.
To have a meeting, and it's been busy. We haven't had one, although I really think we need that. So do we want to do it after town meeting?
My hope is you'll wait till May.
Okay.
Just because it would help us get through town meeting in a more healthy way.
Yeah. So could we get that on the books? So.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's gotten himself activated on the Code Red system. We worked on that on Friday, and he had never, you know, Kristen had her passwords and stuff, but Lenny hadn't gotten them yet. So we got that all done.
Traditionally, these are Monday night meetings, at least that's when Walter used to have them.
Okay.
I know this is kind of a beginning one, so we could probably, is there a night that works? Maybe Thursday's drill night.
Monday's
not good for me.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Maybe on an off Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
fine.
One of our off
I
Tuesdays.
can go on off Tuesdays. I have finance.
We have one in May right after town meeting.
When?
We'll skip some.
Yeah.
Well, I think
So
we deserve a break,
the first
right?
Tuesday,
Like, you know.
the first Tuesday after town meeting. We do it.
The first,
That's the first, right?
That is, no, it's the 30th.
No, May, October.
30th.
It's a
I
calendar
didn't
that
bring
we
my,
had there.
yeah, but I didn't bring the
Calendar
one
right
with
there.
That's probably
versus the
not 30th
30th.
for me.
Oh, that's
I just
fine.
realized
Yeah, May 1st is Wednesday.
And first is a Wednesday. Drill nights are Thursdays.
The one thing that Walter finally relented on, he would hold them. We managed to hit every Monday holiday.
Yeah.
It was because it was the third Monday.
And
in the month.
that just gets old.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that
third
takes away your
Monday.
holiday every
Yeah.
year.
So, why don't we try, what about, how are Wednesdays for everybody?
Wednesdays are okay.
Yeah.
How about Wednesday, May 1st, May Day?
I could make
That's a perfect kind of.
I could make a 7 o'clock meeting on Wednesday. Because assessors building committee.
And then Tuesday, we just said that wasn't good.
Because Rita, you can't make the 30th.
Yeah, I mean that either
No,
one of Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, what happens? I mean, hopefully, right now we're past snow. Right. So, and not thunderstorms yet. Right. That doesn't happen until June or after, based on history. So why don't we try the? Yes. Why don't we try the 6th week of the 6th to the 10th? Maybe
that's better for me.
We have a tentative select board on the 7th. Would that Wednesday.
The 7th?
The 8th is
The 8th,
Wednesday.
yeah,
And
let's shoot for that.
they've been at 6:30 traditionally, held in the fire station on the 2nd floor.
Never been on the fire
Really?
station on the 2nd floor.
You haven't
I'll be a
lived.
first.
You haven't lived.
Really?
So that's the target's May
Maybe they'll bring back all the couches Lenny took to the dump.
8th. No, that's fine. Oh, those work.
Okay,
So
Wednesday,
May 8th.
5, 8, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
At 6:30-ish or something of that nature, please.
Did we say 6:45 or 7?
6:45.
Just because I always have to shut down the building committee by 6:30, but if I have to get down there.
Yeah.
6:45.
6:45 would be great.
In person.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's
All
good.
right, so,
Remember, don't block the,
okay,
these
Brian
in
is
case they have to go.
impatiently waiting. Susie, we have to kick you out.
Yes, we're now going into executive session. I still need favor. Thank you for coming, Susie. So we will be, our next will be to convene into a executive session for reason number 3, which is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on a bargaining or litigation position of a public body, and the chair also declares that the case is threatening litigation. So do we vote to go into executive session, do I hear, and not to return to regular open session?
I move that we go into executive session for reason number 3.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, we have to do a roll call vote.
Carol, I.
Stocker, aye.
Nick Pierce, O'Neill, aye. And not to return. And okay. I see a hand up, Amanda. We're heading into an executive session at the moment.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about that. I just wondered if you could give any more detail about what this is about at all? No, you usually do with regular, ongoing litigation. You say who it's with. I just wondered if you could say anything.
The reason actually describes everything that needs to be said at the moment. So no, we won't be able to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we do have to ask anyone to leave who's not here.
Hey, Brian. Hey, do you want me to?
People are
Session. Can I quickly send you the link? Yeah. Zoom. Does that work or just put you on speaker? Okay. Ryan, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, Brian. Yeah.
Okay. I think we are now out of, that's scary.
Hang on.
Are you still recording?
Well, we don't need anyone in, right? We're going to close down this meeting. We're not going
yes,
out this
that's correct.
So we're closing.